Welcome to today's Zoom session. This is Rahman speaking to you here, and it is Tuesday, 24th September. A few very interesting things are happening. First of all, the final stand is going live in under 24 hours in your dashboard. A few things have changed in the dashboard. Namely, if you go to the home section of the dashboard, you will have noticed that United tokens don't appear there. Many people have said, where is the United tokens that I've purchased and the statistics on that? It is in the menu section of United. If you click that and then you click on your balance, you will see it there. The first token allocation for United is going to be happening on the 27th of September for round 5 members. So people who purchased round 5, your tokens will be allocated in 3 days' time. Speaking of allocations and distributions of tokens from private sales, the old way of doing things is that the private sale takes place second to the tokenomics being set. So tokenomics get set, the private sale happens, and then it launches, and then the distributions take place. And when that happens, things are always messy for every single private sale in the history of the crypto market, except for the final stand, for the reasons that are mentioned in the PDF presentation. Now, the PDF presentation for the final stand currently, as I'm speaking to you live, is on the Telegram channel. You can download it and you can read through it. The tech team are going to upload that first thing tomorrow. So it will be in the next 12 hours or less that it will be uploaded inside of the Cryptonaire network dashboard. MintHub's allocations have already happened. For those of you that are involved in MintHub from before, I know that there are a lot of new members who got into United, and now there are a lot of new members getting into the final stand. And what I want to share with you here is what I've shared with you for a very long time, over a year already, and that is about private sale tokens. Private sale tokens, when the allocations take place, there is always going to be a correction. And so what I don't like about private sales in general, except for the way that we're doing things in the final stand, is that the tokenomics get set first, then the private sale, then it launches, then the distribution takes place. And when that happens, as I've mentioned to you, there is a lot of mechanics that they have to wiggle around, a lot of numbers that they didn't anticipate. So MintHub or any other private sale in history, they won't know until the private sale is over how many token holders there will be, how big the private sale is, and the distribution mechanics. And so that's why with the final stand, what we're doing is the private sale first, then the 3 days before it launches, the tokenomics get set, added onto your dashboard, then it goes live. And when that happens, it's the perfect tokenomics that matches exactly the scenario that's taking place. Now, MintHub is a great example. I know a lot of you here did not get involved in that, so I do apologize for having to discuss this. MintHub's allocation is taking place. And what they're doing right now as they're distributing, the first distribution is always going to be slightly messy, but everything does happen exactly as described. And so when allocations happen, it's almost like a spring or a rubber band. So if you imagine a spring or a rubber band, and then you imagine some weight under it. So if you hook up the weight, what happens? And the weight is basically the distribution, the number of tokens they have to hand out. The spring or the rubber band gets stretched, it goes down, and this is how the price goes down. It goes down all the way to its bottom. Distribution takes place, all of it takes place, and then boom, it goes right back up. The bigger the distribution in that sense, the bigger it recoils up to the top to a new all-time high. And so what you're experiencing right now, what I'm experiencing right now, is it going down. And then what we will experience next is that it recoils right back up. And this is perfectly normal, and also a normal reason to be scared. When I first got into purchasing private sales, the first 2 private sales that I purchased, I was absolutely scared. And that was because of it going down the way that it went. And then after it shot back up, that is when I got my confidence back. I got into more private sales, and I never really was fussed about distributions. So that's basically what's happening in regards to MintHub. There were obviously a lot of messages that were coming my way. People saying things like, "Hey, thank you. I've received my MintHub tokens." Others saying like, "Hey, I didn't receive 10,000x. I received 1,000x." What MintHub are doing is that they're distributing it slowly, and it doesn't happen all in an instant. So there's a whole big line of code when they're distributing, and it all happens chunks at a time, automatically 24/7. Is working every single second right now, and it's getting distributed. And so what you'll notice is, oh, I just got 1,000x, I didn't get 10,000x. Some people will say, oh, I got my 10,000x. Others will say, I only got 100x. That is distributing through their line of codes, where they are adding the MintHub tokens into your wallets. Many people here can verify that they've received MintHub tokens. Some people will say that they received it at wrong multiples. It's just that the distributions are still taking place. If they do it in an instant way, what happens is, imagine there's too much weight on the rubber band, it goes down and then it snaps. So that's what they're avoiding. It's snapping basically. So it's going down as much as they can, and then bam, it basically shoots up. And this is normal, a normal scenario for private sales. And the only reason that it's normal is because the tokenomics got set up before the private sale. So I hope that describes things. Everything is working smoothly. My tokens for MintHub, for example, I didn't receive my full amount also, but I know that I'm receiving it in chunks. And so I ended up receiving it and then receiving it again a few times, but still not the full amount. So that's basically what's happening. The recoil when it comes back up is going to be very, very good. I'm very excited about it still, and things are going to be absolutely amazing. To avoid this, with the final stand, there is a new way of doing things. And it's actually, I was thinking about this yesterday. Is there an even better way to do it? And I just couldn't find anything that can be improved upon in regards to the final stand. Because what's happening in the final stand is, instead of a private sale that lasts 300 and was it 88 days? I cannot remember what the exact number is, but I did mention it in the um, on email and on the Telegram. MintHub lasted well over 300 and something number of days. So it was about a year. United Token lasted 25 days, so it was a few weeks. The final stand only lasts 9 days. So the private sale is very short. The distribution for the final stand begins 3 days after the public launch. And what happens is 1% of what you purchased is distributed every single day. So that recoil that I was talking about with the spring or the rubber band and then the weight and then the price dumping down like this and then shooting up, that doesn't happen with the final stand. Because even if everybody receives their tokens every day and then every day they sell it, it still doesn't go down. And that's because it's only 1% that goes out every single day. So it's basically spread out. Instead of receiving it in chunks, instead of receiving all of it in one go, and if you receive all of it in one go, what happens is that rubber band or that spring snaps and it's game over for that token. When received in chunks, like with MintHub, it goes down considerably, lots of pressure on it, and then boom, it shoots up. And when you receive it and it's spread out the way that the final stand is, the confidence that it builds is absolutely enormous. And there's also an added psychology to it. Every day you'll be checking your wallets to see the final stand tokens going into your wallets every single day. And you'll notice it. You'll wake up and say, oh, yep, I received my final stand tokens. What that does is there's all that free attention. And attention is the most valuable commodity on the planet today. more so than gold, more so than diamond, more so than crypto. Attention is the most valuable commodity. And that's because it's time, and time is the most limited thing for us. Everyone here has a limited amount of time. Then everyone here, on a grander scheme of things, has a limited amount of time in on the planet, right? We will all live, we will all die. Time is the most valuable thing for us. And so what happens every single day, people will be checking the final stand tokens. They'll be noticing distributions taking place. They'll notice that there's no correction whatsoever. Great system. The tokenomics are going to be set based on the number of holders, based on how much comes in, based on the liquidity that can be set for it. And all of this makes it so that the token is as stable as possible and it's shooting up, even if everybody sells their distributions every single day. So I really, really love that idea and that concept. I labeled it out in a diagram. I placed that diagram inside of the final stand PDF presentation. What I did was, instead of, and I did give it to tech, but instead of giving it to tech and then telling them upload it and then waiting for that, I ended up just putting it directly into the Telegram channel for you to download. You can go through it, you can read through it. Make sure you do. And in under 24 hours, the final stand will go live. Now, someone asked me in a Zoom session the other day, what's the advantage to getting in round 2 and round 3? And there is no advantage of it in comparison to round 1. Round 1 is the cheapest you will get the final stand tokens. Each round, it goes up by 33.3%. And then once the private sale is over, 3 days of 3 days later, it's going to launch. In those 3 days, it will also go up 33.3%, and the tokenomics get set, and it appears on your dashboard, and then it launches, and the whole game plan and roadmap and everything is going to get set, all in those 3 days. It's going to be absolutely remarkable. And there are many pointers and reasons towards it. Now, what I like about how things are headed right now is the level of work, craftsmanship, and focus that I'm going to be putting towards the final stand is something that is going to last 300 days. So for 300 days from the launch date itself, October 10th, that is. October 10th is the distribution, sorry. From the October 7th, for 300 days, my only focus is going to be getting the final stand to as big of a multiple as possible. It's going to be the new membership platform. Of course, no one who's paid for Cryptonaire Accelerate or the secret membership has to pay for it. I'm simply upgrading it for you guys in a very big way. So it's going to be the membership platform, and it's going to be focusing on the altcoin season that's happening. I want to make sure that the results you make in those 300 days is purely from the final stand from altcoins, so the buy and sell orders, and that's it. So I'm going to focus very heavily on that. I will make, of course, some continually I'll upgrade the Cryptonaire network dashboard, of course, commissions getting paid out every day as usual, of course, and all of these things that are happening has now been done in a way where it requires a lot less work on my side. So all this free time, I'm going to dedicate all of that time towards the final stand, towards the membership site, towards checking out altcoins, and towards making you as big of a multiple as possible. So that's the scenario right now that's playing out. I'm highly, highly excited about it. I did mention, if I scroll up now to earlier, actually, I mentioned this close to 24 hours ago. I labeled out, I did a sneak peek of the PDF presentation for the final stand. And at the end, I added a side note. And the side note was, side note, I am embarrassed to say this. The first 2 private sales I bought, I was scared on the token distributions too. Enough experience in this is why I'm confident in everything. All is going exactly according to how it should. So it's all working amazingly well in regards to Mint Hub. United Token will be even smoother because each round had a different lock-in period. So it's slightly more spread out. So we will not see a correction as large. And then at the same time, when it comes to the final stand, there'll be no correction at all. And it will be my blockchain developer, my blockchain expert slash analyst that is going to be launching it right here in this office. And I look forward to that. As a matter of fact, I may even go live as it's happening. As the launch happens, I will go live. And that's because it's all internal and I can see it right in front of me physically. So I'll go live as the final stand is launching. I will go live as the distribution is happening. And it's going to be very, very good stuff. I absolutely enjoy it. What I'm going to do now is everything clear on everything that I mentioned? Just say yes or no. And if you have any questions also, feel free to ask. If everybody remembers that little fish analogy that I mentioned, we've got a little fish moment with Sadiq. Sadiq. He's putting God on the in the conversation. Allah said not to invest and grind and hustle, not wait for freeloading money and greedy towards money. You people are so fake. Apparently, guys, apparently it is fake to earn a living, to be able to take care of your family, take care of your loved ones, take care of your community, to be able to have the freedom to make the choices that you want. Apparently, that is called fake. So we're all fake, everyone. Why? If you're fake, I'm fake because I want to take care of everyone and I want to make sure that all of you are earning a great living. Let's just type fake for Sadek just to piss him off. Yeah, there we go. So that's a message to Sadek there. We're all fake. So you should leave because you're real. You should leave the Zoom session. Now then, let's see over here. What Sadek is saying is send my Mint Hub. First of all, I just explained everything. Don't be real, Sadek. We're all fake over here. So basically, that's what's happening in terms of the distributions. It is perfectly normal. Sadek, you don't have to be concerned or anything about that. Everything gets sorted by them as should be. And they are doing it live, literally as we're talking over here. Anyone who receives MinHub tokens as we're live, I would love for you to say, yes, I received it while I was online. But that is what distributions are like when things are done the old way. And I've mentioned on the diagram here about the old way. The old way is that the tokenomics are created first. Then there's the white paper, so the PDF presentation on the roadmap and the plans and all of that stuff. MinHub are actually ahead of schedule. So they're doing a brilliant job already. After that, the private sale takes place. Then the private sale ends either weeks or months later. I don't like that. I like very short private sales, which is why the final stand, which begins tomorrow, is only for 9 days. And the first 3 days is where you get it at the lowest price. So the first 3 days is where you have to get in. Then afterwards, they're forced to stick to the tokenomics and plan. And then the token launches with these forced tokenomics. And that's the part that sucks. Um, but everyone goes around that. It's perfectly normal, unless you do things the new way, the TFS way, the final stand ways. In the final stand way, as I've mentioned here on the diagram, and the diagram is here, it's so bright that you can't see it because I've got these cool lights over here. But on today, I've mentioned it, and it's called on the Telegram channel, and it's called the old way. It's also mentioned in the PDF presentation. So I actually took a screenshot of part of the PDF presentation that you guys just received, I believe, about an hour ago before this Zoom session. And it basically mentions to you how things are done. Private Soul gets announced. The goal is clearly set. The goal is simple for the final stand. $1 billion market cap, getting onto large exchanges at the right time. I remember I told you about two piles that exchanges put tokens to. 98% is the shit pile or the bad pile. 2% is the ones that they truly care about. And that 98% is down to number of holders, what's going on, and how easy it is or how difficult it is to take over that token. Because what they will do once you get onto a big exchange is you will actually see it. You will see the token price pump like crazy, dump like crazy. And you will think, wow, I wanted to go on a central exchange. It's going to pump like crazy. Then I'm going to sell and make a crazy, crazy profit. It doesn't work like that. The central exchange is who makes the crazy profit. So what they do is that they end up this is for most of the tokens that they list, by the way. They'll list a token. They will buy and sell in a way where they take most of the supply. Then they will, once they've taken most of the supply, then they will put it towards the top of their exchange. They might end up emailing it that there's a new token. They might end up putting it on their app, like pinging it on their app to mention about it. It pumps the price up like crazy. Then they sell again, and then they sell and make all of that margin themselves. Their job is to make you panic. So you sell and then they buy it up. That's how they treat most of the tokens that go up into their exchanges. Then there is the good pile, which is very few tokens are in the good pile. The good pile simply is number of holders. If there's so many holders, then they don't want to screw with that because that brings them. Imagine there's 100,000 holders for the final stand later, right? They will see, wow, that's 100,000 potential customers that can join my exchange. So I'm gonna list them. That way I can get them registering into the exchange. And this so-and-so token, the final stand, Rahman said that when I list the final stand, that he will announce it to the holders. And Rahman has them all on an email list. Rahman has them all on Telegram, and he's got a great relationship with them. So this is amazing. So now I know out of that 100,000, instead of 20,000 people registering under the exchange, maybe more than 50,000 will register under the exchange. 50,000 people on the exchange, they're going to start buying and selling different tokens. So I'm going to make sure that this is in the good pile, as a matter of fact, in a great pile. And then they won't screw with it. Then they'll realize how big the market cap is, how much movement is taking place there also. And they will say, well, it's going to take a lot more money, considerable amount more money to screw with this token, to try to take its supply. And it's not worth it. I've got all these hundreds of tokens, thousands of tokens in the shit pile that I can list and play with that are far smaller. So I will do that to that pile and to the final stand and to these other big tokens. These few I'm going to treat respectfully, and have a great relationship with them. So that's the two um, piles that central exchanges put tokens under. But most people, what they see from the outside is they will see it pump like crazy and say, wow, we've got to get on the central exchange. When is it going on an exchange? When is it going on an exchange? Is what they ask. If it goes on an exchange prematurely, what you're really saying is, when do you want Binance to take my money? When do you want Binance to take my money? That's basically what you're saying. When a relationship is great, it's basically, when can you have Binance pump it for me? And that's basically what happens. There's so many mechanics to launching tokens. There's so many mechanics that happen in the background that I will basically just fully focus on implementation instead of explanation. If I explain, it takes time away from implementing. If I implement, it takes time away from explaining it. Does that make sense, guys? So, what the 300 days is all about, 300 days after the launch, after the first distributions. So after on October 10th is the first distribution for the final stand, and then every single day for 300 days, distributions into your token. October 10, 300 days from October 10, 2024, 300 days from October, what day? So that is Wednesday, 6th August 2025. So October 10, 2024 to August 6th, 2025. My job is to get the final stand as big as possible. I'm going to use my entire network outside of Cryptonaire network, that is. I'm aiming to get whatever the private sale is, I'm aiming to get 20 times the number outside of the Cryptonaire network, pumping up the token itself. $1 billion market cap, listing it on an exchange when it's in the good pile. Speaking of my network, you see behind me over there, that box with the orange lighting is called the humidor. Inside it is some really nice cigars. And from time to time, I enjoy having a cigar and some tea with people who own exchanges. I will not mention which exchanges because you'll immediately know who and what. And I don't want to um, finalize things by mentioning it. But it's a very large exchange, one of the largest, in fact. And we sit down and have conversations all the time. I treat him for cigar and we catch up on things. And that's where I actually learned about how exchanges treat tokens. It was through these conversations that I was having where I ended up getting those details. And then I got into conversations with other people that own exchanges, and they all do the same thing. Two piles you never hear about. Obviously, it's not public information, but if you think of it from a logical standpoint, it makes sense. The exchanges, their only task is to make money. Their task is not list a token and make sure everyone who's all the holders there are making great money. They couldn't care less. Their role is, I'm an exchange, I'm a business, I'm a person, I list it and I want to make as much as possible. And they do it in that manner, every single one of these exchanges. Somebody said, throw this guy Sadek out. Sadiq. Yep, I thrown him out. That's the first person I threw out in it's what over a year of doing Zooms. The first person that I threw out. All right. So basically, that's what's happening with the final stand. And that's what was happening with everything else is absolutely amazing. The PDF presentation, who has read it? Did anyone here read the PDF presentation already for the final stand? I know it was just an hour ago. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So many people have read it. Freddie said yes. Elizabeth read it. Anna, Rooney, Reddit, Marjan, Caroline, Michael, Russ, Walter, Frank, Danny, Shadrach, Trey, Zen. Casey's reading it now. You can read it now. You can read it after the Zoom presentation. Shazad, Niels, Annie, Fana, Michael, Stewart. So everyone has Thadika. So that's great. People are reading it. What are your thoughts on the PDF presentation? Shazad said it's very good. Excellent, bro. Keep it up. Thank you so much. Caroline said it's very clear, groundbreaking, very excited. Neil said perfection. Um, we've got, so every time somebody messages, I have to scroll up. Let me just put this on full here. There we go. I can open up the chat like this. Makes it much easier for me to read. Okay, so Dr. Sandler said very clear guidelines. Charlea said PDF is great, easy to follow. Russ said very clear. Shadrach said simple and clear, straightforward. The PDF is great, nicely put, crystal clear, clear view, easy to understand. Super stoked. Awesome. So so far, very positive sentiment about the final stand, which is absolutely amazing. Of course, it's because of the reputation that has been built over the years. And I do thank you guys for that, for following my instructions clearly, for doing your job very well. I have mentioned on the Zoom session the other day that the community for Cryptonaire Network, and this is not from a biased standpoint, I've handled and dealt with many communities in many niches in many industries over the last 12 years, millions and millions of people, more than I care to check because there's so many of them. I can tell you that the Cryptonaire Network community is it's the greatest community so far that I've dealt with. I really like the focus, the speed of implementation, the way that you implement everything that's mentioned, and I really like the way you guys back me up when there's somebody negative. It's very, very kind of you. It's very nice. And it's great. It keeps everything positive. It keeps everything flowing. And it helps me with working even harder for you. I actually enjoy working really hard for you guys, for making sure that you're well taken care of, well looked after. And that's why I set up the final stand, is because it was the most common request from Cryptonaire Accelerator members and from the secret members. So from the paying members, the most common request was, please, why don't you, I want you to create a token, to build a token, to launch a token here. So here we are. It's called the final stand, and it's done in a superior way, in a new way, never before seen. I outlined the reasoning behind it. And if you can imagine, the perfect tokenomics makes a remarkable difference. You'll see it soon. Very soon you'll see it, because the private sale is only for 9 days. 3 days after, it launches straight away. 3 days after it launches, the distributions immediately begins. You will notice and you will see it very quickly what the advantage of perfect tokenomics are. First of all, just to outline to you, when the tokenomics are set up correctly, what it means is that it's tailored, customized to what's actually happening. And when it's customized like this, it fits better to the number of holders, the liquidity that can be placed in. It fits just perfectly. And when it fits perfectly, there's going to be no dumps. There's going to be no corrections. It's going to be sturdy, and it's going to be able to skyrocket in value in a safe way. When the tokenomics have to be fit around numbers that the token never knew, or the coin never knew, it becomes a bit shaky. The best way to put it is, let's say that there is, and it's just an odd example, but it's an example people can understand, right? Because something like this would never happen. Imagine that there are six people. Six people want to drive from point A to point B. And there is 100 random vehicles, all types of vehicles. You want to go for something that is a 30-minute drive. And in these 100, let's say that it's a raffle, right? It's written on a piece of paper, and you have to randomly pick it from the box, and that's the vehicle you're going to use. In there is going to be two-seater cars, five-seater cars. It's going to be the lorries, vans, bicycles, any vehicles. It doesn't make any sense because you didn't know the distance you wanted to go from point A to point B. You don't know how many people are going to have to fit in that vehicle, and now you're picking out this random vehicle. So that vehicle is the tokenomics, essentially. And the number of people and the distance that you need to go and all of that stuff is the other details. It's the number of holders, so the number of people that purchased the private sale. It is the amount that they've purchased, so the total sales for the private sale. And once you have that, imagine you go to a parking lot and then you say, okay, there's six people. We're going from point A to point B. It's a 30-minute ride. We're going to use this car. But if you randomly did it, you might accidentally pick a bicycle. And it's just impossible now to go from point A to point B. Does that make sense? It's a weird analogy, but does that make sense on the importance of a perfect tokenomics? All right. Hey, Uchiha changed um the Zoom name to Mr. $4. So Uchiha is the person who put $4 into United, I believe, and that $4 turned into $500. And so thank you so much, Uchiha. Said so he or she, let me know. Uchiha Mr. $4. Right? So that's the person who put $4 into United at the launch and then turned into $500. And Uchiha said, I'm a he. Mr. $4, you are a mascot right now for Cryptonaire Network. So everybody said that it makes sense, the analogy that I used. And basically, this is the reasoning behind the final stand, doing it that normal way. As for the lock-in period for the distribution, there is so much, uh, uh, there's so much beauty to it. I'm going to explain some of it. First of all, the fact that the distributions take place daily, it means that it's spread out. If it's spread out, even if everybody sells it, it doesn't hold any, it doesn't make any difference to what's happening. The reason is because, especially at the beginning, the token value goes up and down in big swings as it goes up. So 1% doesn't have any consequence at all. So even if every day everybody sold, it doesn't have any consequence at all. So that's a beauty to it. It's the first and only lock-in period method with no correction. So that's the beauty of it. Next, the side effect of that, and it's a great side effect, and it's a great side benefit, is that because the distributions are daily, you're going to be going on your Phantom app, going to TFS and saying, wow, I can see it. Yes, I received my distribution. And that is attention that goes there in your Phantom app where you're able to buy it. And so many people will be buying it with the attention that it brings. Next, because it's something that's new and working, I'm going to push it out to outside of the Cryptonaire network. I'm going to be telling them about it, discussing it with them about this new way of doing things. And that attention, they're going to look at the final stand. They're going to see every day distributions taking place because they can see the supply going up. They can see what's happening. They can see there's no dumping, and they're going to end up putting money towards it, especially because I've mentioned that the final stand is built by me. So I will use my reputation that I've built over the past 12 years. And people will look at it and they'll think, you know what? I've known Rahman for 12 years. I've known Rahman for 10 years. I've known him for 8 years. I've known him for 5 years. I've known him for 3 years. I've known him for this many years. He's always been a stand-up guy. He's done what he said. And he's been in the crypto market for so long now. And he knows what he's doing. And he launched a token. I'm going to put some money in. So I believe just on those conversations, we'll end up already fulfilling the goal of 20 times the private sale numbers coming in at the public launch. However, no matter what happens, for 300 days, the focus is getting the final stand as big as possible. It might end up, and I would not be surprised, a token that just spreads all across the world with many people talking about it, millions of people being aware of it, with it being just one of the top altcoins in the market during the altcoin season in the Solana network, where the altcoin season is going to be, where the big multiples are going to be. Imagine it becomes a token that just everybody discusses. And I would not be surprised with the level of detail that has gone into it already, with the tokenomics set up in this perfect manner, and with my only task being to multiply it as big as possible, that it becomes a famous token that everybody discusses. So lots of things are going to be happening. I'm going to map it and plan it all out, take it a day at a time and work on it. I'm going to focus on implementing it rather than explaining it. So who here is excited about the final stand is going to be going into the final stand, going all in on it on round one. Round one being in less than 24 hours. Just say me on the comment section if you're getting involved in a big way as possible on the final stand. There's so many me's. Absolutely amazing. Stuart has said, let's take over Doge. Hey, let's take over everything. I'm going to go crazy with the final stand. And I'm already very excited about it. Extremely excited about it. I feel like almost like, um, well, odd analogy again, but like a dog on his leash, like ready to go, ready to pound on the task. This is what I feel like, and I cannot wait already, guys, for the private soul to be over and done with. I cannot wait for that. I can't wait for it to launch. I can't wait for the first distributions to take place, because what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna work on it for 300 days straight, 7 days a week. And I, it's gonna be phenomenal. Will I put you to the task on some things just to boost it and help out with things? Yeah, but very basic things. Like, hey, this has been announced over here. Say good stuff. That's your task today. Hey, that's been posted about the final stand. Give it a big like, give it a thumbs up, give it this, do that. Because what happens is I'm one person, one like, one positive comment doesn't do that much. But if we've got hundreds of comments, hundreds of positive engagement, and all you do is it takes 30 seconds of your time, and that makes a big, big impact. And believe me, it does, because it's social proof. That social proof makes a big impact. And then from that social proof, I can hammer on the final stand for you guys. So that's all that your task is going to be. It's going to be the most simple task, just to boost things, just to give it that extra edge. Are you guys willing to do that? Jack said we are with you before I mentioned it. So there's a lot of yeses coming now. So yeah, it does make an impact, a positive impact. But even if you don't do it, it's still going to do extraordinarily well, because I'm putting everything into it in the next 300 days. I'm putting everything into it in the next 300 days, because after those 300 days, when you have, the altcoin season over and done with, the token having risen as big as possible, all of the money that you've been making, all that income that you've generated, what happens then after those 300 days is we're going to make big, big moves together. So I'm planning and working hard for everything that will come after those 300 days. My role, my task in these 300 days is that you are financially retired. You've got the time freedom and the money freedom to make all of the moves that I set out for you. And that's the task for those 300 days. I don't want anyone in a job that they don't want. I don't want anyone working hours, getting paid by the hour in a 9 to 5 job unless they really enjoy it. I want to make sure everyone has that financial freedom, that time freedom. They've got the freedom to make choices without panicking, that they're comfortable, that they're looking after things, and that they can sit on a seat like this, comfortable like the way that I feel, peace of mind, and ready to make a giant step forward after those 300 days. So that's what I'm working towards. I will work on it one step at a time, because paralysis by analysis is a real thing. If I try to analyze after these 300 days, what exactly am I gonna, is gonna be the next move for Cryptonaire Network, for everyone here to make the best results possible, to impact their life in a positive way as possible. Paralysis by analysis. My only focus now, next 300 days, is implementation. I'm going to implement everything that I know, everything that I am towards the final stand, towards the membership site, towards the altcoin season, towards making you as big of a multiple as possible. As I'm focused on implementation, there will be less conversations on explanation because there's so many intricate details to it. Then there's going to be explaining those intricate details and yada, yada, yada. And I'm telling you, it's going to end up being 10-hour conversations, 5 times a week. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to focus on implementation. If I focus on implementation, you get bigger results. And that's going to be the relationship in those 300 days. So I will end up changing the video in the home section of the dashboard after the launch takes place, or I might end up popping also a video up. So beforehand, those of you that were involved in the Cryptonaire network before you believe it was United, you'll know that there was a pop-up always with some images, right? Every time you logged into the dashboard. So I'm going to have one like that, but a smaller pop-up. It doesn't take over the whole screen, and it's going to have a video. And it will basically explain, like, it's going to show a calendar and me basically stating that I'm going to be so busy implementing things not to worry about me not explaining things or not being available. The only reason I will not be available as much as I have been in the history of Cryptonaire Network is because I'm going to be so focused on implementation. And of course, I'm going to keep you up to date on everything in the final stand. Of course, commissions are going to be paid out every single day as usual. And of course, the membership website, like I've mentioned, it already is one of the goals, is going to be improved on. And I've mentioned also in the PDF presentation that the dashboard is constantly going to be improved on. So all of that is going to be happening, with the only emphasis and difference being I'm going to be leaning a lot more towards implementing than explaining, because we've built that relationship already. So I'm going to focus a lot on implementing, and we'll see how big the final stand is going to go. I want it to be a household name, basically. It just you knock on a door and people say, "Do you know about the final stand TFS token?" And they say, "Yeah, I know about that." That's going to be the goal that is laid out for the final stand. So the standards are very big. The team is I've been working with this team for a very long time, and they do things in a brilliant way where we're in sync with each other. It's a great flow. Then at the same time, we're in good sync together. We're in a great flow. All we're gonna do, we're gonna put in the hard work. We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna build it. We're going to multiply it as big as possible, and we're gonna make it happen. And after those 300 days, we make the big moves. We make the big moves together. Jed said, "Are you still removing your referral link so we can capitalize?" Yes, there will be a lot of changes happening in the dashboard afterwards. Caroline said, "When is altcoin season?" Altcoin season is when altcoin season is. There are always precursors to the altcoin season taking place. Precursors meaning this happens, then that happens, then this happens, which means the altcoin season is coming up. So I understand the precursors. Some of them are already taking place. When those precursors take place, altcoin season is inevitable. But I will not know exactly when that is. But I will know exactly what happens before an altcoin season. Does that make sense? So the fact that I'm already mentioning that the focus is going to be on the altcoin season and on the final stand and on the membership side means that the altcoin season is nearing. The strategy will be simple. Go all in on the private sale for the final stand. Distributions take place at 1% per day. When the altcoin season comes, and I tell you, guys, go make this purchase and then sell it at this time also. When I tell you to buy an altcoin, for those of you that are secret members, and when I tell you to shift the top 10 tokens for accelerator members, what I want to emphasize here is you can sell final stand tokens to make way to purchase these altcoins. Then you sell those, hopefully at a profit. Usually it is. You sell those altcoins at that massive profit, and then you put it back into TFS tokens. And then you build your TFS token portfolio this way. And then at the same time, because the distributions are every single day, you can kind of almost consider it passive income. So what happens is every single day you're receiving those distributions, then I can tell you the X amount of those distributions, pump it towards, put it towards this token, and then bam, sell that token. And the altcoin season here is going to be, what's going to be different about it, I feel, is some of those tokens are going to be more long-term plays, and some of them are going to be very quick-term plays, as in several hours, in and out within a few hours. Because people got smart to things. They will buy it and they will sell it quickly. And so we're going to do a lot of that. So it'll be very interesting to do that. Stuart said it's just around the corner. Lone Wolf said attention gives it attraction. And I think he's referring to TFS token getting distributed every single day. That attention does cause attraction, yeah, because people will wake up, or maybe in the evening before they go to bed, or sometime in their day, they'll say, I'm going to check my TFS tokens. So that's what's happening with TFS. One other thing that I wanted to discuss and note over here is that I wanted to make sure that the private sale was very short, because my goal is to make you as quick of a income and as large of a multiple all as quick as possible. And I wanted to start things as quick as possible because I want to focus on those 300 days. I'm very excited about those 300 days. So that's the focus behind, or the reason behind the private sale being so short, is because first, the altcoin season is coming up. If the private sale lasted a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, it's not that attractive. I don't want my money sitting for a year. So why would I put you in that same position by making a private sale that lasts a year? Right? I don't want to focus on commissions being the big way for you to earn an income anymore. I want it to be on the market. I want you to be making the big multiples in the market. So in those 300 days, there will not be another private sale. There will not be another big token that is going to list into the Cryptonaire network dashboard just for you to earn the big commissions. The focus is going to be, the doors will be shut on that private sale tokens, and the focus will be on TFS and on the memberships. And yes, you can still earn commissions on $100 or $97 for Cryptonaire Accelerator. You can still earn commissions on $497 for the secret membership, but there won't be anything beyond that in those 300 days. So I do apologize for that, but it's for the reason of focusing on multiplying as big as possible for the final stand, and that's basically the focus. Hassan said, bro, you left us behind. You could have added a couple of days on TFS timer. I believe that any timer that I set isn't going to make everyone happy, no matter what timer I set, because everyone wants things at different times, right? Um, so I based it on the momentum that I wanted to ride it from the momentum of the platform and on what's going on in the market, and on making sure everyone is prepared as best as possible for the altcoin season. If I make the timer vastly extended, if I make the timer based on, and I'm glad about this timer because many of you or some of you are mentioning, hey, I wanted to sell the distribution tokens, for MintHub for United, and then use that to get into the TFS. That's the worst idea because what happens with the distributions is that the token price goes down, 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 and then it shoots back up. So what happens is, imagine you put $100 in, and that $100 becomes $7. So it's a really strong pull, like an arrow, like a bow and arrow, and then boom, it shoots up, and it goes from $6 to $600. Now you could have made 600%, but instead you sold at a massive loss just to get into the final stand. That's not the way to do it. So I'm actually glad about the timing. So that's basically the details for the final stand. The reasoning behind the private sale being so short. The reasoning is because I want you making I want it on the market as quick as possible, so the distributions are as quick as possible, so you're making money as quick as possible. The lock-in period is explained. It's the first one of its kind, and it results in no corrections, builds confidence. The side benefit being the attention. Everyone's going to be every day. They're going to be checking, saying, "Yes, I've received it. Yes, I've received it," and that attention can actually boost up the token price. Your role, because many people did ask, what can I do for the final stand to boost it up? Strength in numbers is your role. You're going to do 30-second job here and there for the purpose of the final stand. And that's just to give it that massive attraction. I'm one person, so I can't just like something 100 times or subscribe to something 100 times or 1,000 times or 10,000 times. I can't give 1,000 comments and 10,000 comments, but each one of you can give a positive comment, a positive reaction to things, and it will take you a few seconds. So that few seconds from everyone can result in very, very large organic reach outside of Cryptonaire network. Because what happens is, so the algorithms for different platforms will end up saying, "What's going on here with the final stand? This post. There's a lot of interaction here, which means it's good, which means we're going to spread it out across the platform. We're going to bring more viewers to it. We're going to put it in front of more eyes." And that alone, that 30 seconds you put in, that 10 seconds you put in, if you can't comment, you can put in 2 seconds, just bam, like, bam, heart. That few seconds you put in can end up making the final stand a household name. So that's going to be your task. And apart from that, we're going to take things day by day and make things happen as big as possible. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut off the recording because it's going on for a long time. I'm going to answer questions outside of the recordings. And then from that point, that's it. Your task, for those of you that are watching the replay over here, log into the dashboard. Go to deposit now. Deposit in your funds. Make sure you always generate a new address every time you make a deposit because it's one-time use only. And as soon as you do that, get into the final stand. Make sure it's round one. This is Rahman signing out. I'm here to answer all questions now that have been popping into the comment section.